Why having 0.78125 Bitcoin is a huge deal. Today we talk about Bitcoin in 2034 with Delio Pera when the Bitcoin mining reward drops under only one Bitcoin, and why he thinks the epoch will be really significant. And of course, we also talk about Venezuela, self-driving cars, Charlie Kirk, Elon Musk, and so much more. Enjoy. Hi, Delio. How are you doing? Everything fine on your end?
Good. Yeah. I think, is this my third or fourth time? I think it's definitely
I,
my
I,
fourth.
I actually don't know for sure, 100% free or more, but I could already be the fourth time. I think we're on 3 or 4. It becomes a very good guest, and it's, I think, at least from my perspective, I like the guest a lot. If he came back already so many times that I can't count, it's a good sign, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. How many times we talked? I don't know. Let's just get back into it. Yeah. So I think last time I may have hinted at a project that I was working on. And so I don't even know if I said what it was, but now I'm happy to talk about it. And even though the project isn't complete, it's definitely on that final trajectory to getting done. And then maybe we can talk again when like it actually happens. And I guess I'll say what it is. I'm writing a book for Bitcoiners. I know every other Bitcoiner has written a book, but this is not a macro book. It's not a book about why. It's not like any of those Bitcoin Standard or the Big Print. It's not a book like that. Which, hey, there's definitely a place for those books, and I've read a handful of them myself, and they're good and interesting, especially when they come from people like Savadine or Larry Lepard. But my book is a novel, and there have been a few books that have kind of like this. There's one by I just looked it up today because I was trying to remember. I listened to it just randomly. I was looking for books on this library app that I have where you can go and get. I mean, there's thousands and thousands of books on there. So for audiobooks, it's amazing. And I just happened to, I mean, I randomly picked it. I wasn't looking for a Bitcoin related book at all. I was just looking for an interesting book to listen to. And it was by, I think his name is CJ Cook or I can't remember the author's name. I was just looking it up. Anyhow, the book is called Stormwatch, and it's about a park ranger in Wyoming, and he's going to see what's going, like it's like the Reacher series. So he's every same character, but he's different adventures each book. And this was book 23 apparently in the series, and I just happened to randomly pick it. And he's going out to investigate a deer that was maybe poached or killed or an elk or something. And while he's out there, he sees this building and it's making a noise. And like, what's going on? Where did this building come from? Because he's out on the park, and he goes up to it, and turns out that it's a Bitcoin mining facility. And there's some like crime thing. It's kind of like one of these weekly serial Sons of Anarchy, the show of the week, where there's some new adventure that happens, and he's got to go and find out what's this about and why is it here, and there's probably some murder that's connected to it or something, and then he saves the day and figures out the whole thing. And like so many movies or shows that mention something that is slightly on the fringe of society, which honestly Bitcoin still is. Most people, I would say, have heard of Bitcoin. Like, do you ever encounter somebody that's like, Bitcoin? What is that? Does that ever happen?
No, like 100%. And I think this is something that speaks how strong the Bitcoin marketing machine is. Everyone that I know, I mean, I'm also like a Bitcoin podcaster, so
Right,
I have a kind of filter for that. But I would guess if you go out on the street and ask 200 random people in most parts of the world, maybe not North Korea, in most parts of the world, and you ask them, do you know about Bitcoin? They probably heard of the word.
Heard of it. Like, you don't have to tell me about it. Just, have you heard of Bitcoin?
And most are aware of it, like 100%.
Yeah.
The question is like how many can answer any questions of it.
Right, and that's the thing. And so many of these books will, because people are like, okay, I've heard of Bitcoin, but I couldn't tell you the first thing about it aside from it's a something to do with investing or money. They know it's a financial thing. They know it's not a like tokens for a video game or something. I don't think most people would think that. And so these books will have a fair bit of exposition where it's like a Bitcoin miner, da 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 da, and they'll do varying degrees of a decent job of explaining what that is. Sometimes they get things a little bit wrong. It doesn't really matter. It's in there to kind of like have somebody that's reading the books like, oh, Bitcoin, yeah, I've heard about that. What is that? And then they give a paragraph or two about what it does and how it works. And oftentimes there's a character. It's like, well, so here's some Bitcoin. Here's how it works. And it's like, all right, okay. If you're a real Bitcoiner and you read most of these things, you're like, well, that's not quite right. It's like seeing somebody hacking online in a like CSI show or whatever. There's like, oh, Law and Order, who's hacking the mainframe? There he goes, just slapping the keyboard, and there's stuff happening. I mean, I don't know the first thing about code, but I'm pretty sure that a real coder or developer would watch them like, that's not how that works at all. But okay, you tap away there. So I listened to that book, Stormwatch. I listened to another one called The Atlas Maneuver. Natalie Brunell actually interviewed that author. It was all right. Satoshi is in the book. It's Satoshi's a woman, and she's like this genius programmer thing. It's like, oh, all right, okay. I mean, you can do whatever you want. It was an all right story, but the story that I'm writing is not for the layperson. It is for Bitcoiners. So I have very little explanation in there about how things work. I have some stuff that comes up naturally in dialogue because the idea of the story is, imagine Ready Player One, but without the action. That might sound boring, but it's more of a character study. It's more of a drama. And so there's this character. His name is Card, and the whole story takes place in 2034 Seattle, Washington, and the power grid is a little funky because people haven't figured out power. And his bid axe that was given to him by his grandpa finds a block, and at that point, blocks are worth whatever it is, 0.78125, I think is the amount. So it's the first time it's less than a full Bitcoin, and it's a big deal. Bitcoin is worth $3.5 million at that point. So when he and his girlfriend that live in a little studio apartment come across, I mean, basically have $2.5 million dropped into their lap, and holy crap! So that's the first whoa. I mean, that happens within like the first 5 pages, and then he gets a text message from an unknown number that says, "Don't spend any of that Bitcoin. It'll be worth it. Wait 3 days. I'll talk to you again." So he's, well, what do I do here? I can change my life right now. And I don't know if I'm going to stick with this title, but the title that I have currently, which kind of gives you an idea of what the idea is about, is called Time's Preference. I don't know that time itself actually has a preference, so I'm not so sure about that title, but it points your mind in the direction of what this is about. It's something that Bitcoiners face all the time is, oh, I can sell this right now. I have money in savings. I mean, it's something that anybody faces, whether you have your savings in Bitcoin or just in fiat. You've got savings, assuming you have some. And here comes something that you want. There's Black Friday, there's Cyber Monday, there's some deal. Oh, I could use a new pair of shoes. I don't need a new pair of shoes, but those are some cool shoes. I could use some new shoes. Do you buy them? Do you wait? Do you hold off? It's a decision, and especially it would be complicated if there was some person, even if you knew the person, said, "Hey, don't spend that money," and you're like, "Why not? I can change my life right now. I just got this big bonus from work. I got a $5,000 bonus. I can go and do whatever. I can do whatever. All so many different things with this money. Why shouldn't I spend it?" Well, I'll tell you in 3 days. What are you talking about? No, I'm going to change my life right now. What would tell me in 3 days? No, but that's kind of where the story starts, and then it goes on from there.
I love that. And honestly, I think novels are an interesting way to orange pill people. I've talked with Michael Sullivan, is this his name? I think
Yep.
Michael from I forgot the book name that he wrote. I think he published it last year. Oh yeah, exactly. There's a word that I cannot even pronounce. But he with him I also talked about how you can tap to now mainstream people that don't care about Bitcoin, because like giving someone is giving someone the Bitcoin Standard from Cyverdine or the Big Print from Larry Lepar or a book like that is very different to giving them a novel that has an amazing story that hooks you from the beginning, that just happens to be either around Bitcoin or mentions Bitcoin, or Bitcoin is just like part of the story, but it's not an explanatory piece. It's a novel. It's some kind of story around something. And so if I think about like my sister, or I think about someone that really is for me hard to convince, hey, read that finance book, it's a lot easier to give them like, hey, here's a great story. Bitcoin just happens to be in it. And I'm questioning a lot if this might just be an interesting way of getting Bitcoin into the awareness of people, in a positive awareness of people, not just like, hey, like it's bad for the environment, like it pollutes our ocean, like it costs a lot, it doesn't scale, like all those like that FUD out there, but like putting it in a in a way people can touch it, like almost like the with what Steve Jobs did with the iPod, was it? That like, oh, like 1,000 songs in your pocket, like things like, don't explain how it works, explain like what I have from it. And with that, with stories, I think it could be really interesting. So I'm getting more and more psyched about like because you said in the beginning, it's a book for Bitcoiners. But at the same time, if you just like not explain it and it just like happens to be in the story, I don't know exactly how it's written, but it could just be that people like the story so much. Or is it something that they cannot enjoy the story if they don't know about Bitcoin?
No, the goal, I hope not. I hope it's not so wrapped up in Bitcoin stuff. Like, there's a little explanation in there about, like, I mean, for example, when I mentioned the bit axe, I don't sit there and tell you what a bit axe is and what an ASIC is and how mining works. I just say a bit axe miner about the size of a pack of playing cards. Okay. I mean, some people have seen pictures, like my dad, when I mentioned Bitcoin mining to him, and he's like, "You mean like those big factories or whatever?" So he's seen images where I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe on news they talk about it and they show up some picture of Riot platforms or whatever, and they've got this, the walls and walls of ASICs. It looks like an Amazon warehouse or something full of ASICs. So I think when people think of mining, first off, they go, how do you mine a digital thing? First, I was like, well, it's maybe not the greatest word, but whatever. That's the word that was used, and it's the one that is stuck. So, yeah, I understand that when you picture, people picture mining, they think of a guy with a pickaxe or whatever out and they're digging in the dirt. Okay, I understand that. And no, that is not what these machines are doing. It's totally different. It's just a word. Anyhow, um, I don't sit there and explain the way that blockchain works and go into all the details. And I I do think that if you're just a person that is, like we mentioned, those 200 people on the street, and just somebody's like, yeah, okay, I've heard of Bitcoin, but I couldn't tell you the first thing about it aside from it existing. My hope is that they could read this story and walk away from it going like, oh yeah, I understood the main thing. Like, maybe I didn't understand some of the jargon and I don't know exactly, I couldn't tell you precisely what the blockchain is, but I maybe use that term, I don't know, 3 times in the book. I'm not sitting there trying to bash you over the head with a bunch of technical jargon about Bitcoin. It's a story about a guy that comes into this massive reward, and now he's presented with the problem initially of not spending for 3 days, and then after that he's presented with some challenges that this person, this entity, whatever that contacts him, uh, he's faced with. He's faced with a dilemma, and basically it comes down to high time preference versus low time preference. So do you change your life in a meaningful and significant way right now, or do you delay that and get something greater at the end of this time period that's a little bit longer than the 3 days? And to complicate things, there are some big reasons why he would want to spend that money right now. Like, yes, it's not just that he wants to get some new stuff for himself or buy some clothes for his girlfriend and go on a trip and quit his job. Like, yeah, of course, but there's some other really big reasons that he wants to help a friend out that is like facing homelessness, and he's like, some large reasons. He's like, I don't know that I should hold off on spending this. And so it's like, well, what do you do in that situation? And I don't think that anybody that doesn't fully understand Bitcoin is like, well, I don't understand this person's plight at all because I don't understand Bitcoin fully. Like that's not necessary.
I like the time frame that you picked because I look at the. We might actually have talked about it in one of the shows. I look at the time frame where the mining rewards drop under one, starting from 2032, most likely. It was 0.78125, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
0.7. I think this time frame will be super interesting for Bitcoiners. I think this is a time frame where we have proven that Bitcoin can survive over a very long period of time. We are probably integrated in all financial aspects of the world. We are probably a very strong, very big asset at that point. I mean, we already are a $2 trillion asset. It's not nothing. It's like almost the biggest company in the world. I mean, like it's half of what the biggest company in the world is with 4.5 trillion or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, we will be bigger than any single company. I strongly believe so. And maybe like bigger than the 2-3 biggest one together or something like that. And so this time frame is really interesting because I think at that point Bitcoin will be, I don't want to say widespread, because like what does widespread really mean? But at this point, Bitcoin will be a very strong and dominant asset, and it will be very hard to make any arguments against it at that point. Why did you choose like 2032 or like the framing where the mining rewards are dropping under one?
Because I think that is the most significant halving of all the halvings. Because I think that there's something really mentally sticky about that one Bitcoin. You'll see people like British Hodl. I know that is his biggest thing. He's talked about getting to one Bitcoin, and there's something that people like about that with having a round number. Even if you had 0.98 Bitcoin, you'd think like, well, I want to pass that one mark. I want to have be able to say that I have one of the 21 million in existence. And I think that it's a real there's something about that different round numbers, and that is, yeah, you could say, well, what about the time that it dropped under 50? It's like, okay, yeah, when 5 people knew about Bitcoin back then, like that happened within the first 4 years. I mean, I'm not, obviously I'm being a little bit facetious there. It was a lot more than 5 people, but you get my point. Not that many people knew about it compared to now. And I think I think it's a mental thing. And so when you know that your minor operation no longer can even get you a full Bitcoin, that you have to work harder, like your Bitcoin miner operation, whatever, you have to find 2 blocks to break that one number now, that threshold. And yeah, I just think that with things that you said, with the timing and so many other factors, strategy still acquiring Bitcoin, they're on the way to, it looks like, trying to, I mean, will they hit 1 million before the price hits 1 million? I don't know. It's looking like that given their trajectory and what they acquired last year. I also think that this year it's going to be a lot harder for them to acquire as much as they did in 2025. I guess I said this year. We're in 2026 now, technically. It's been a week, whatever. Sorry, my brain's still switching over to the new year. Probably like most people, it takes a little while. It's not like an immediate thing. I'm not a computer brain. And I just think it's a significant date. There's so many things pointed in that direction. I watched listened. I didn't watch it. It would have been pretty boring to watch, but listened to a 3-hour podcast with Elon, and I'm forgetting his name. It's the Moonshots podcast, Peter Demetrios or something like that. And it's a fairly wide-ranging conversation, but focused on tech and AI. And there are people out there that have this opinion. They seem to hear what Elon says, and then they take it and they go, wow, we're entering into like completely uncharted territories. Elon says things like, oh, this year there's a whatever percentage that will have AGI, and then we're gonna he thinks that Grok 5, there's like a 10% chance that it'll achieve AGI. Like, I don't know what they have behind the closed doors in the labs and at XAI. I know it's better than what I'm getting and have access to, but I interact with AI on a damn near daily basis, and my results with it are anywhere from stunning, like I built a whole server. I'm not a coder. I was explained that earlier. I don't know the first thing about doing any of that. And I have a whole in-home server that I built. I mean, I bought a Dell tower off of eBay for $90, and then with the help of AI and taking pictures of it, Gemini, and asking it like, how do I get this all set up? It gave me the code, and I installed Linux on it, and like it doesn't even have a screen, so I'm accessing it from my other computer and typing in SSH whatever onto PowerShell. And I'm like, this is all stuff that was completely foreign to me. I didn't even know there was a program called PowerShell on my Windows PC to access things like that. This is all okay. I'm just following along, and it's giving me all these detailed instructions, and it worked basically flawlessly. Well, if I ask it other questions, like how to do a fraction, like I build screens as part of my job sometimes, and I'll be like, okay, I need to take off an inch and a half. So I've got 28 and 3/8 of an inch, and I need to take an inch and a half off. What is that? And it's like, it's 34 and 0.78 of an inch. I'm like, that is not even possible. That's not even remotely close to right. So when I'm told by Elon, and he's sitting up there on stage and saying, oh, within 3 years, we're going to have as many robots roaming the streets in the world as there are humans, and that every human on the planet will have access to healthcare that is better than the president of the United States receives right now. I go, really? And they go, well, you don't understand the exponentials. You just don't understand. Once the AI starts replicating and making itself and doing it, and just like it's just gonna go flying. Okay, okay, yeah, maybe. And he's sitting up there saying that universal high income, it's a universal, you can get whatever you want income is going to happen. This is going to loop around to your question about the date. I'll finish here in a second, but all of these people are saying that like the world is entering like this is the singularity. We're in it right now. And I look around and I go to a grocery store, and there's a person that's trying to figure out like how to put a can in a bag. It's like AI is going to just come in and fix all of this inside of 3 years. Look, maybe. Who knows? Maybe there's going to be some massive breakthrough, and then it's going to be like in some of those movies where it is exponential, and then one AI like robot builds two, and then the two build four, and then the four build eight, and then just oh my goodness, and then the next day you wake up, and this has been happening all night long, and the next thing you know, there's a 5 billion Optimus robots out there. It's like, okay, well, where do they get the material? Like, you can't just magically, that has to be found. Like you have to form the plastics and the metal that has to be forged, and there's a process here. You can't just magic this stuff into existence. And so I say all this because, well, I do think we're going to, and we are at any given point going through significant change. I don't think that the change is going to be so significant that you don't need to save for the future, which is one thing that Elon said. He's like, we're going to have so much energy and free everything that you don't even need to save for retirement. I don't think that's great advice. And so I do think that things like Bitcoin and other real assets, like you can see what's happening with gold and copper and silver right now, people are swinging out of non-real things, stocks and bonds and equities. Like, I don't even know what this thing is. This is like, it's a promissory note, and it's a thing, whatever. At least I can hold the gold on my table. Well, okay, whether it's real or not is a whole nother conversation, but it's something. It's a heavy something on my desk. I paid money for it, and here it is in my hand. I'm holding it, assuming you take self-custody of your gold, which who does that? But yeah, there's one other thing I want to say about the story side of things. Do you see the movie Pineapple Express back in, like, I don't know, like 10, 15 years ago?
Not at all. I don't even know
Okay.
what it is.
It was a Seth Rogen movie, and James Franco, and it's about weed. And I attribute that movie, how accurate this is or not, I don't know, to being a big moment when the perception of marijuana changed in this country. James Franco and Seth Rogen were kind of at their height of movie making, comedy, doing all the goofy movies together at that time. And it was a big movie. I don't know if it was like a massive movie, but it was a big movie. It was like kind of super bad level of funny, and people talked about it. And being that the main topic of the movie was marijuana, I think it changed the conversation to like, hey, why isn't this legal? Why? And it did a lot more work, I think, to help people change their mind about marijuana and legalizing it in the US and most of the states now at this point, than all of these petitions and marches and going door to door, whatever people did in these various states like Washington and California or Colorado to try and get weed legalized. you have a funny story that anybody can go and laugh at and like, oh, this is funny. Yeah. What is the problem with puffing on a joint? So yeah, I think stories play a huge role. And I think 2034 or I'm sorry, 2032, when that halving happens. 2034 is when the book takes place. So I'm getting it mixed up. I think it's going to be, I think we're always in a time of change, but I do not think that the level of change that Elon talks about is going to happen. I think my wife has said this a couple times. She's like, "Well, Elon's a hype man, and he's got stocks, and he wants the shares value to go up, and so he hypes people up, and it's like, oh yeah, I gotta invest in XAI or Tesla or whatever because there's all this stuff is coming down the pipeline. Look, we haven't even gone to the moon again. Maybe we didn't even go the first time. I don't know. I'm mixed opinions on that. And like all this rocket stuff is cool and the robots are neat, but like, you see them on stage and they're just like, it's like that's going to be replacing everybody's jobs tomorrow. I don't think so. I struggle to see it.
The first thing that every Bitcoiner does, and the most important activity that every Bitcoiner keeps on doing, is buying Bitcoin. And I personally use Relai to buy and sometimes also spend or sell my Bitcoin. And there are two main reasons why I do so. The first one is it's Bitcoin only. They do not do any shit coins. They do not do any cryptos, any stocks, or anything else. This is a tool, an app that is fully focused only and solely on Bitcoin. The second one is self-custody. They give you the keys to your Bitcoin the moment you buy them. You never give them the control over your Bitcoin, and you don't have to trust them because you can verify that you and only you have the keys to your Bitcoin. There's no third-party risk. There's no freezing of your assets. There's no rug pulling. There's nothing of that. Download Relai, the app, on your phone, or go to relay.app on your browser and use code Robin to save fees and get cheaper Bitcoin. I want to tell you about something very special to me. It's called Microseed. If you hold your Bitcoin in self-custody, and you should, you know how critical it is to secure your seed phrase. You should not have them on paper. You should not have them on anything else than titanium. With Microseed, you can engrave your 12 or 24 word seed phrase, the entire seed phrase, onto a 1-inch small washer. Yes, just one washer. All 24 words on that one washer. You can hide that thing everywhere. And even better, you don't need to buy a new kit every time you have to get a new wallet. You can make unlimited backups because Microseed is not selling the washer. Microseed is selling the device that stamps the washer. So you get the full kit with the device, with the washers, with the hammer, with everything you need to get started today, and you can make with that unlimited amount of backups. Go now to microseed.io. I'm watching Elon very closely since, I don't know, 2016 to 17, I don't know, like when it started. But I've started investing in Tesla when I was 18 years old or 19 years old, like a couple of years already back. I actually am not invested in Tesla since like 4 years now. Like time flies by really quickly. And I observed him very closely. I observed what he's saying and all those conference calls and everything all the interviews. There was a time for like 2-3 years where I basically watched all the interviews he did on the podcast he did. And one thing I observed is he's usually right, but early. like usually he tends to be right with his predictions, but the timing is usually way more optimistic than it actually then happens. One example for that is self-driving cars. He was talking years and years and years before it actually happened. Now a little bit already that it will happen this year, it will happen this year, it will happen this year. And I listen to him every year and I'm like, yeah, you said the same thing 2 years ago, and like we don't have any self-driving cars. Mm-hmm. But now I'm going, like in Europe, we don't have any self-driving cars. But if you go to America, like I was in Miami, I rented a Tesla just to try it out. And this thing actually drove itself. And I had my girlfriend next to me sitting, and she told me, I feel safer when Tesla's driving than when you're driving, because like it felt more on like lines. It felt more safe. It felt like a train is riding and not like someone that just like is on new streets for the first time in the USA, like I was. And so when I observe him, I'm like, he has a track record of calling things early, which turns out to be at least partially true. But he 100% makes things bigger than they really are, or like makes things sound more extreme than they really are. I mean, he basically said that the US democracy would have been gone if Trump would have lost the election. Not sure if that would have been the case.
I guess it
Of
depends
course,
on how you define democracies. There's some people right now that are anti-Trump that's like, oh, we're living in the stages of Nazi Germany, and we don't have democracy anymore because look, international law, and they just kidnapped this dictator. It depends on what side of the aisle you're on at any given time, whether or not, yeah.
so like all that to say, just like I think he exaggerates his points usually,
Yeah.
and usually he puts a very optimistic timeline on his things, which usually turns out to be wrong on the timing, but right, or at least partially right, what he's saying. So I do think there will be a time where robots will move around grocery stores, move around the houses, move around our areas, and will be normal. And like they will do things for us. I mean, I already have a robot in my house. It's a vacuum cleaner. It's not a advanced thing, but it changed things for me because I no longer have to care about vacuum cleaning. I only do some of the corners with the small thing. It takes me 5 minutes in my small apartment to do all of that. So vacuum cleaning, it got from a thing that took me 1 hour, 2 hours a week, to a thing that takes me 5 minutes every month, which is huge. And so I do think it's interesting what he says. I'm also a little bit fanboy, but honestly, he usually is wrong on the timing and wrong on how huge and extreme the impact actually is. Usually also connected with the timeline. So I'm not sure about the whole AI and robotics thing. I'm using it a lot, like a lot, and it helps me out a lot. But you're right. Like I don't like 3 years seems very extreme. 30, yes. 3, yeah.
Yeah. I agree with like. I think when people hear something like, "Oh, robot surgeons are going to replace the best surgeons in the world," and that will be the thing is that they can learn from each other. So if there's one really good, let's say, knee surgeon, and he works in a hospital in I don't know, Dallas, Texas, and that's the world's best knee surgeon. Well, his knowledge is isolated to that individual. And so if you want that specialist to work on your knee because you're a football player and you need the best knee surgeon in the world, you've got to go there. And if you're a European footballer, that's not what I meant. I was talking about American football, but let's say you're like you work on you play on Arsenal or Manchester United or whatever, and you blew out your knee and on a skiing trip, and well, you got to get your knee fixed because you're going to be in the Premier League, whatever. You got to go to this guy in Dallas. Okay, well, that's annoying because maybe there's a queue of people that want to get into this guy because he's the best in the world. Well, if that's a robot, and let's say the robot learns something, now all the robots just know that. They just know that. And this is something that is funny to me that people that work in that world don't even think about some of these things. Like there was a guy I met at a Bitcoin meetup and I asked him what he did. He did something in tech and I think it was AI adjacent. And he had a Tesla and he said I don't know if it was full self-driving at the time. This was a couple years ago at this point, but it was at like partial. And I asked him like, well, how does that work? He's like, well, I just told it where I wanted to go, like on the equivalent of Google Maps, or it was Google Maps or whatever. And I just typed in the address and hit set go. And there it was. And then when it got here, it didn't know exactly where to park because it was kind of behind this area. So it just kind of stopped and I had to take over and then drive and park. And I was like, oh, that's really neat. And so we were talking about AI and robots. And then it moved on to talking about kind of, I don't know, far-flung future or somewhat distant future ish, a medium term, I guess. I don't know, in the next whatever you call that in the next few years, moderately distant. Anyhow, about like Optimus robots. And I was saying, Well, it'll be interesting when they can learn from each other or something like that. They just will have collective knowledge. He's like, oh, you didn't fully understand what I meant. I was like, well, if you have a robot that has been specifically trained like to help you in the kitchen and you're a chef, well, then all of the robots around the world know that. And so if you're a house maker in Guatemala, you now have the equivalent of the world's best 3-star Michelin chef that can do the best sushi because the one in Japan learned how to do that. And then it's also the best, most efficient maid in the world because it knows, because it learned that. Like, it just knows all. He's like, oh, yeah, I didn't even think about them sharing information. I was like, how did you not think about that? Like, that's so obvious to me. Like, that would be like one of the first things. They would just all like, you're not gonna have, they're not individuals. You're not gonna have, oh, my robot is really good at folding laundry and doing dishes, but boy, when it comes to playing music, I handed it a guitar and it just like tried to eat it. That dumb bot. Ah, I wish you knew how to play music. It's like, no, 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 no. It's gonna have Bach and Chopin. Like, it's, you're just gonna put it in front of a keyboard or whatever, and it's gonna be able to play whatever music exactly in the same way that the one across the street and the one across the world, like, the exact same way. Like, they will all know it will be improvements across the board. But when is that happening? Like, somebody asked him on stage. I think that Peter guy asked him. Um, he says something about, I didn't know this about Teslas, but I guess they can drive, like, if you order one, it'll drive itself to you. I don't know if that's totally accurate. Like, I still
Yeah,
don't
it's
know.
there's a feature called summon, and if you are in a parking lot and it's parked, you can just press a button, and as long as you keep pressing the button, it comes to you, and like it picks you up. Like if it rains in the parking lot, at
No, no,
least
I'm
that's
talking
the
about if
feature
you
that.
buy it. So I'm at home, I go online, I order it from the Tesla, whatever, and it, like, the next morning, it's in my driveway because it drove here from the factory.
Oh yeah, they are talking about that. I think they just can't do it legally yet. Maybe they can do it in a few states in America where I don't know about it. But I think technically they could do it because they already have a taxi network somewhere in America. But
I
I'm
guess
not.
you could do it like it because it need don't you have to have like a supervisor in it? Like, well, how does it drive to you in the parking lot if he doesn't have anybody in it? Is that legal? Like, what if it runs over a kid because you weren't in the car to monitor it?
With the parking lot, it's a different one because you have to keep pressing the app, otherwise it will stop driving.
Huh.
So you keep on the button and then it drives. If you release the button, so like you're kind of still pressing the thing and it drives very slow. But
Okay.
there are already Waymos from Google and Tesla taxi networks in, I think, San Francisco. I
Yeah, but
might
you
be
keep on
wrong.
seeing stories about those completely getting screwed up because, like, everybody ordered them to go park in a puddle or something, and then they get stopped because, like,
There are a lot
there's
of problems with them, but for me, it's like looking back at the conversations I had in school like 10 years ago, and like where we actually talked about will self try. Like I remember we always had debates in the German class, and like we had to debate for yes or no, and we couldn't pick which side we're on. And
mm,
so they're like, okay, self-driving car, will it be there in like 5 years or 10 years? I don't know what the time frame was there.
yeah.
But back then, everyone was like, this will take ages and ages and ages. And now I'm like, it feels like I'm not that long ago in school and it's already here. Like I'm 10 years or so out of school, or maybe not even like 8 years, I think. And they already are and already driving to a certain extent. I mean, there are a lot of bugs and there's a lot of weird things, but honestly, that's freaking insane for me. Like I did
Yeah,
not
it's
expect it to be so
wild,
fast.
and these things will learn, and they'll like, every time something like that happens, it'll learn, and it probably won't ever happen again. Like, it was a big you probably remember this, I imagine. It was a big news thing when Gemini's I think they were first rolling out their AI stuff, or around the first time, and there was a image generation, and people were giving all these examples of how woke it was. They would ask it to, like, "Draw me a picture of soldiers in World War II," and it would, like, it was just all very, like, draw me somebody that would have worked, like, been in the American Revolution, and it was like a Hispanic guy or like an Asian guy. It's like, okay, I don't know what you're doing, but that was a blip on the radar that was there for a week or a month or whatever it was, and now it doesn't happen at all. And I imagine I'm gonna do this. I'll just go and I'll do this in the background. But where I was going with that driving to you thing is that, will be interesting is if you go and you order an Optimus bot and you ask it like, okay, hey, I ordered it, and then the next morning it walks up to your door, knocks, like, hello, I'm your bot now. Like, all right, welcome in, welcome to our family, Mr. Bot. Um, yeah, I think you're definitely entering some interesting times, but I don't think that they're going to be as interesting and as um,
I don't know where
disruptive
they
as
are
people
already.
talk about.
I don't know where they are already available.
Where
It's
what is?
the robotaxi thing.
Oh,
I was just looking it up because like it's I think, yeah, it's California. There you can even see it on the website a little bit where it's available. I think it's California. And then if it's worldwide and it's all everywhere legal, you can just like, I mean, this is pretty cool. You can order a car and like 2 days later or like a week later, it sits in your parking lot, and it's like that. If you have that, and in the whole US, man, like that would be crazy. But I think probably sooner than we expected, because it's already partially there in some of the countries. This is the thing I was talking about. I don't know if you can see that. Let's make it a little bit nicer. This is the robotaxi thing that they are trying to launch. I don't know how successful and if it's already live and stuff. But I think California is where you can already do it. I think California is also where Google Waymo is also already doing it, where I see a lot of videos. And I mean, you just sit there, you have the robotaxi, and like you press where you want to go. If this is available, and it's probably a lot like long term a lot cheaper than a taxi, because you don't have to pay the most expensive resource on planet Earth, like human time.
yeah.
And so like I'm really looking forward to that time of like just like sitting there like, oh, I want to go there, I want to go there. Hopefully there's a nice subscription I can subscribe to every month.
Yeah, I imagine that there will be an option for basically anybody that owns one of these type of cars, whether it's a Tesla or things that are part of some sort of network, that your car, if you opt into it, is also a robo-taxi. So if you're going to bed at night and you know, I definitely don't need my car for the like, or you're on vacation, I guess would be a better example, because I don't know that I would want to put my car on taxi mode while I'm in bed, because you never know. You might wake up and like, I need to go to the hospital right now because there's a pain in my chest or something. So you might not want to have your car just wandering over the streets, picking up strange people. But if you're on vacation, you're like, well, I'm not even going to be in my city. So if something happens, I'll be in whatever, a totally different state or whatever. And then you could have your taxi, your car, either earning you money or getting you discounts on your subscription, like you're talking about, or if like Elon talks about, if we are able to get more energy, that's a big thing right now. Which I I know there's all these conspiracy theories. Doing a little segue here on Venezuela, and we can talk about that in a second. But going back to the energy thing, energy is like a massive, massive bottleneck. All of this stuff takes energy, and like Elon was talking about in that podcast that Moonshots won, if we could even get to like 1/1000th of the sun's energy output, that would be, I don't even think we're at like a one thousand, yeah, 1/10,000th or something. So we need way, way more energy to do all of this stuff. So it kind of comes down to energy and the ability to move atoms around, which is what I was talking about earlier with those robots and building each other. Well, they need resources and they need the materials to do that. But on the energy front, I've seen so many different goofy conspiracy theories. Every time a big news story comes out, you see so many wacky things, whether there's truth to them or some amount of truth. I don't know. But I've seen things like the reason that Maduro was captured was because of some archaeological finds in Venezuela. Like, maybe, maybe we're doing some Raiders of the Lost Ark stuff and some ancient Mayan ruins were found down there, and that's what why we captured them so we can go and get. Could be that, and other people saying, "Oh, it's because of this and geopolitics." That is like it could just be the oil. It could just be that. That's the Occam's razor answer. Maybe there's these other, I don't know, like tertiary and second, third, fourth, fifth order knock on things that go as part of that. Sure, maybe the archaeological finds were part of it. I'm pretty sure that wasn't on the top of Trump or Delta Force's list. Like, we got to get those, secure those ruins so our top scientists can go and inspect the bones and then the stones, man. Maybe. Or it could
Have you
be,
heard about that one? I mean, it's not proven yet, as I understand it, that apparently Venezuela has like 600,000 Bitcoin, and that's what the US also wants.
hey, all part of the pie. But I think that the oil, the whatever, the some $1 trillion worth of oil, like they have like 5% or more of the world oil supply in crude, and Texas and maybe Louisiana have like some of the only places that can process the heavy crude. I was reading, it's like that seems way more likely as a large reason, along with Maduro being a dictator. That's problematic. So whether or not it, like the whole international law thing, I don't buy at all, because it seems like you have law for your country, but when it comes to international stuff, you can kind of just do whatever you want. And people act like we live in a completely different time than we lived in 500 years ago. It's like, no, 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 no. No, you can actually just load up your soldiers on your boats and your planes and point your big guns at another country and go, we do this now. And they go, oh, yeah, I guess you do. Like that's how history gets made, and people seem to forget that. They think that it's all like a happy-go-lucky time, and we can just all hang out and just be all pals with each other. And it's like, have you left your house? Do you understand how the world works? Like, this is kind of what Jason Lowery's book is all about. Might does make right in the grand scheme of things. If I have a big stick and I can hit you really hard with it, and you have a small stick and you can't use your stick at all, I win. I mean, that's just period. I win. I don't care about international law. I've got a big stick.
I love that. And it's so funny because all the mainstream media in Austria now, probably also in America and everywhere, they're now saying like, oh, but doesn't that violate the international law? And is now the law of the strongest ruling? And I'm like, when did we get off the law of the strongest? Like the strongest always rules. Yes, though you can make some like laws that like, if this happens, this is bad, and like there's those like I saw this from someone on Twitter. I completely forgot who, but like there was like tier systems of countries, and I kind of liked the analogy that there was like countries that can just evade other countries with little to no consequence, like the US just going to Venezuela.
Yeah.
But for example, I don't know, Venezuela couldn't do the same thing with the USA. If the Venezuela starts bombing the USA,
Well, it wouldn't even get to that point. Like, we would know that was coming a month in advance, and no chance.
And so like there is no like there might be international law written down somewhere, but it's not the actual law. The actual law is physics. I think Elon Musk also says that a lot of time, like the physics is the only law that we all have to abide by. Yep. And this is kind of like, yeah, like I can say like, I don't like what Trump says. Please, Trump, go back and like don't be the president anymore. But he probably doesn't care too much what my opinion is.
Right.
But if Trump says to someone like, hey, like do that, like I'm the president, like he has tools to do things. And that Maduro can say like, oh, come and get me, like the video that kind of got on, like, yeah, Trump actually did not come to him. He just like sent someone to get him to him. That's the law that actually is ruling, not the like international law, and like we have to abide by like those rules. It just like, it would be nice like if we don't hate on each other, if we don't have to have war against each other, but it's just not the reality, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'll make it clear that even though I'm laughing and finding it all amusing, I find the people's take on this amusing. It's not that I agree with what was done. I don't know. I don't know why it was done. I don't know. I have so few details about Maduro. Like, he's running his country, but when I see pictures out of Venezuela, it seems like a lot of people are pretty happy. I don't know what the percentage is. I don't know if it's 50-50. I don't have a clue. But I imagine that if there's a guy that has been a dictator and he's been causing problems and the country has been suffering in some way, and then he gets removed, I imagine there's a lot of people that are going to be happy about that, and there's people that are upset about that. It'd be like, I mean, here, like, imagine the same thing happening to Trump. I don't know, is it like some country, let's say it happened in reverse somehow, some miraculous way, Venezuela comes here and takes Trump away, and let's ignore the ensuing war that would almost certainly happen. Like it just happens in the same way, and they're just like, okay, well, I guess we're not going to do anything about that. In our country, you'd have images of people in the streets in Portland and Austin, Texas, and New York, just yay, this is the greatest day ever. The evil orange man was taken away. Thank you so much. Okay. Look, now I guess JD Vance is the president now because that's how things work. And like, is that, I guess you got to win for this 5 minutes. And is it, I don't, is this really, is it that great? I don't know. But then you'd have other people, the MAGA people are like, oh, this is the worst day in American history. We've got to go and attack and invade. Like, it's just history repeats over and over and over. And I try to just sit on the sideline and as much as I can and go, that's interesting. Like, I'm just, yeah, cool stuff. Man.
I mean, this shocked me actually from with the Charlie Kirk thing. I mean, it's now quite some time since it happened, but the reactions was really interesting for me. Of course, there were people that it was his fans that were like devastated, but then there were people celebrating that he got shot.
Yeah,
and I thought that was very like how can you celebrate that? Like even if you don't like even if I hate someone, I could never celebrate that he died. Like he has to do some really messed up shit in my life that I said, like if he goes ahead and kills my sister and then he gets killed by someone else, like I might smile a little bit. Like I might like have some, because like he did something very bad to me and like there might be something like a small good feeling in me, even though I still don't like it. But him just saying things that you disagree with and then he got shot and you're happy about that, like that's crazy.
Yeah, I don't get that either. There's people that I really dislike. I don't like the Clintons from what I'm told about them. Like I hesitate to say things like I know about them. Like what do I actually know? I've never met either of them. I don't have a clue. There's the algorithms tell me various things because they see the kind of things that I follow on X, and then it pushes various things in my direction, and then I get a certain idea about somebody. Is that true? I don't know. There's probably some truth to it. Seems like Epstein was not a great guy. So do I think that the world is better without it seems from all instances, a pedophile in it? Yeah, I think it's probably better without it in it. Do I think that he should have, as it certainly seems, been killed in that way and not face justice? And do I like, no, I don't think that was handled in this best way. But even Epstein or the Clintons, I don't think I'd be going online and cheering these individuals' death if they were shot in the face or something like, or yeah, it is really, I don't know. It's strange when people are out there, like you said, just celebrating somebody dying. I'm not sure how we got off on this track, but boy, yeah. It's,
Venezuela, and then we kind of got on to, because I said it because of the reactions that you see from people of the Venezuela thing, and then I brought up like Charlie Kirk, and because I found it very interesting how people react to that. It showed me a lot about people, how they react to a thing like that, because I don't know, like if someone dies, like I was not a fan of his, like I did not watch his show a lot. I also did not hate him. Like I was just like quite neutral. I saw some clips on the internet and I was like, interesting guy, nothing more. But I was pretty devastated that like a guy like that can just like be shot for having an opinion. And then I'm like, okay, I'm not even close to that level. Like I'm not like, I'm like an ant when he's an elephant, like something like that, or like even bigger of a difference. But I'm also posting my opinions on the internet. If I'm getting now bigger and if I'm getting more famous, is my destiny that I get shot in the street because I have an opinion? Like that in itself was also like weird. Probably not. But it's just like. it's just not good. I feel like killing a president. Like, okay, killing someone just like has an opinion. Like, I don't know. Like the whole thing made me weird up. The most important thing for your Bitcoin journey is not buying Bitcoin, but it's how to keep them. And yes, you have maybe the right tools, but how do you actually go ahead and stick it all together so it's the most secure for you personally? Self-custody is a deeply personalized journey, and the Bitcoin way is helping you exactly finding that correct setup for you personally. They are also helping you with securing your own cybersecurity. And if you want to go one step above all that, you can even get a consultation for a Plan B residency. Go to thebitcoinway.com/Robin and you will get a 30-minute free consultation. I finally and officially mine Bitcoin. This is not just something to stack more Satoshis, but it's most importantly also to support the network. Individual miners are the ones that keep the Bitcoin network decentralized. And by the way, you get KYC free Bitcoin. That's why I use Simple Mining. I get an actual proper Bitcoin miner. They set it up for me. They repair it if it breaks down. And most importantly, they let me choose the pool and even connect my own full node. I'm completely sovereign and I'm completely in control, and I can sign up with Ocean, no account needed. I just give them a Bitcoin address and then there's mining going on. No KYC, nothing. So if you're ready to mine Bitcoin, go to simplemining.io, tell them you come from Robin, and let's mine Bitcoin together.
Yeah, that whole situation is very odd, and it seems like, I mean, the whole Trump assassination attempt was weird when he was out in Pennsylvania there. There's a lot of just odd things, and the Charlie Kirk thing was really strange. Like, how do you have all these cameras everywhere and there's not cameras on the guy? It's just, his wife's reaction is strange. Like, I know there's people like, oh, well, she's moving on. She's a strong woman and she's got to pick up herself and like she's got to move on with her. Like, yeah, there's absolutely some truth to that for sure. But I don't know. There's just a lot of weirdness, and maybe the weirdness. I fully admit, maybe the weirdness is that I'm not there talking to these people, and I'm seeing all of this through like multiple filters. I'm seeing it from this production, and then it comes through this, and then it's shown to me on a post on X, and all of these people have their own little spins and takes and ideas here. Yeah, it could just be that. I don't know. Like, oftentimes, I've had this experience a few times when I've met people. I've gone to a couple different Bitcoin conferences. I emceed at the Mining Disrupt Expo here in Texas, and you can, like, meeting people in person is so different than interacting with them online. Unless you've interacted with them a bunch. Like, I feel like if you and I were to meet, I wouldn't be like, whoa, you're so different. I mean, I know you're 2 feet taller than me, so to be like, oh, I'm a hobbit in comparison. But that would be a little bit jarring because we seem about the same size when we're on the screen here. But aside from that, I don't think I'd be like, whoa, you're a completely different person. Oh, whoa, you don't even look the same. But when you interact with somebody online, and it's like all of the interaction that you've had is you've read a couple of that person's tweets, and then you speak to that person, it can be really different. And I think it would be even more different when you haven't interacted with this person at all. You've just seen some news stories about this person. It's like, oh, this person is this. And then the author of that story is telling you his opinion about this person. And you're like, oh, I guess that's true about this person. It must be why she did that or why he went there. And then you meet that person, assuming you do, and you're like, it's a little more complicated than that. I think most people, like basically everyone, is a lot more complicated than you can fit into a tweet.
On one thing I can tell everyone that hasn't been to Bitcoin conference, first of all, go to one. But second of all, people are a lot nicer than I thought they were.
Oh, yeah.
They are extremely welcoming, extremely generous with their time, and just like super nice. And yes, people will now say, oh, like, because you're the podcaster, people know you, that's why they're nice. No, I've gone to Bitcoin conferences before I even had a Twitter channel, before I had any social thing there. I just like going there and speaking with people. And from there, I can just say you can go there and people greet you with open arms. I mean, like not everyone. There are jerks in every group, even in Bitcoiners circles. But they are so generous with their time and so kind and loving. I was really surprised. I come from IT security, and IT security conferences are very different.
Mm. Yeah, my experience, I would agree that I've been to a few different Bitcoin conferences, and never once have I had a bad experience. And I suppose, like you just said, and people are, oh, that's because you're a podcaster or whatever. Okay, maybe because I was the MC. Once people see me on stage and then they see me off stage, like, oh, you're the guy that's kind of introducing everyone, so you're a kind of a major part of this, maybe. But before they saw me on stage, I was interacting with people at a dinner the night before, so they had no idea who I was. Like they didn't know, they had no idea. And that was the first year that I'd done it I did a little backup emceeing in Fort Lauderdale earlier in 2025, but that was real brief. It was just some kind of filling in between other people when they needed to take a break. So it was not even remotely the same. Whereas here in November, I was the guy. I was the one introducing everybody. I was saying what panel was going to come. I was up there like 8 hours. I mean, not on stage 8 hours, but behind this doing the work for 8 hours. But the night before it all went off, I was at a dinner and nobody had a clue who I was. And I'm talking to people, and I was talking to one guy that was a miner. He's got a pretty large operation. And then another guy who had just gotten into Bitcoin earlier that year. So he's been in maybe a year now, not even. And he was what was he, like an abdominal surgeon or something. And he got into Bitcoin. I think somebody like well, I remember he first heard about it back in, like, it was like 10 years ago or something, because a guy that worked in the medical field that made some real specific device, and I guess he was making tons of money, left doing that to go mine Bitcoin in North Dakota. And this surgeon that I was talking to was like, why are you leaving this extremely lucrative business that you have, making this specific item for surgeons, to go and do what in North Dakota? And like, I was like, no, this is the future of money. It's like, oh, okay. And then fast forward 10 years, and he's remembering that guy and remembering this conversation, and he's getting into mining now. And he went from having a bit axe to getting more miners. And like, it's just wild, the conversations that you'll get into, and how that's happening every day. Somebody is watching a podcast, they're reading a book, they're reading a story, reading Michael Sullivan's book, reading somebody else's book, and we're like, this Bitcoin thing, maybe I should look into it a little bit more. And then they do, and then they look into it more and more and more, and they go, I think there's something here. I mean, I've asked multiple people this, and maybe you'd be the best person to ask. Have you ever met anybody that has gone deep into Bitcoin, like fully, like to the level that you are, or I am, or somebody that's fully in Bitcoin, and then somewhere along the line, and not for scammy reasons, not for like high time preference, oh, I'm going to go and do my own little poo coin thing off on the side here. Somebody just has some sort of epiphany, and they go, no, I think this is all a scam. I got to get out of Bitcoin. I got to sell everything I have and get into copper. Have you met anybody that has done, like, not necessarily copper, but something akin to that?
I personally never, and I think there are people that went into Bitcoin and out, like Roger Ver or Nasib Taleb, and like other examples that like were Bitcoiners, then something happened and they seem to be out of the community and they no longer maybe hold Bitcoin or something like that. But they're so far, and it's like very hard to even find those public examples.
Yeah.
In real world, like actual people, never. Like I've never met a person that never even met a person that went a little bit into Bitcoin and then sold all of his. Like even a little understanding usually keeps people in the Bitcoin ecosystem. Like not even like they haven't understood, like they couldn't explain coherently what the difficulty adjustment is, but they understood that Bitcoin is good for them. And even those never sold Bitcoin. And I'm curious, like, why that network effect is so strong. I mean, on-chain analysis is also kind of showing that, where people holding on to Bitcoin for a very long time and just leaving the coins where they are. For the most part, of course, they move at different times depending on when you see this interview. Maybe in like 1 year, like there's different things going on. Short-term price move, short-term hodlers are moving it, long-term hodlers are moving it, all that. Like I'm not an expert in that at all. That's why I invite like James Jack and Matt Crosby for those things. But in general, people like buy Bitcoin, they understand it and they hold it and they don't go back. Maybe they diversify. There might be OGs that say like, hey, I held Bitcoin now. I bought 100 Bitcoin in like 2015 and now I'm freaking wealthy and I will buy a villa for like 10, 20 Bitcoin or something like that. Yeah, this might happen, but not like selling and moving on to a whole different thing.
Yeah, I think part of that is, I would say with my experience of the people that I know that have gotten into Bitcoin, but they don't really understand Bitcoin, which is like, I would say it comes down to two things. And one is they just look at the all-time chart and they just go, well, it was down here some whatever years ago, 5, 6, whatever time frame you pick, and it's up here now. Maybe I should just hold on to it for a similar amount of time and see if it does the same thing, because nothing else in my portfolio has done anything remotely like that. So let's just, what's the harm? Why not do 5% of what I like? Let's see. So I think that's part of it, the history of what Bitcoin has done. And I think the second part is the scarcity asset. I think aspect. I think once you have something that you know that there's this fine, I think there's a real mental thing about that. It's like, okay, there's only going to be 21 million. I mean, if that is driven home. I wouldn't say that it's like the most well-known thing about it, but it's pretty high up there. Like you don't have to go very far down the rabbit hole before that point is made abundantly clear to you that that is kind of the core thing that gives this thing its value, or it's a big part of it, certainly, that there's only going to be 21 million. And so people understand scarcity and they go, oh, well, I have a piece of this pie and the pie is not getting any bigger. And if I get rid of that and I look at this chart, the chances that I'm going to be able to get back in at a lower price seems not great. Maybe I'll be able to time it just perfectly, but maybe I should just buy it and just sit on it and see what happens. And I think you don't have to have a deep understanding to appreciate those two things right there.
100%. It's like I always have a deep fear that when money is coming in, to miss out. And at the same time of like, because like I have to spend Bitcoin, like I'm earning Bitcoin, so I also have to spend Bitcoin. And it's always like when it goes down, I'm like, oh shit, now I have to soon sell. And then if it goes down, I'm like, oh, like I want to wait. And so it always goes wrong. Like it's like timing the market is like so bad. Like you cannot do it. You should not do it. And it's like, it's not possible, at least not for me. And I wouldn't trust anyone that says it's possible. But there is some fear going on of like, oh, I really don't want to sell my Bitcoin. The first time I had to sell my Bitcoin because I was earning my Bitcoin, was very hard to get over the hump. It was like 4 years where I only hodled, only got my stack bigger and bigger. But then all of a sudden, I earned Bitcoin, so my stack got bigger directly. But at some point, you need to cover some bills and expenses, so you cannot keep all of them. So I had to sell or spend some Bitcoin to go over that hump of selling of using that sell button in whatever app you're using. That was hard. Like I needed like 2-3 weeks to really think about that. Like I postponed that. That's so hard. I was even considering just getting like a 50K loan before I even sell anything. But I'm against borrowing against the Bitcoin, at least for most people. So I don't know. Like there's a really strong mental block for me of like selling Bitcoin, which is not natural. Like you should just like be able to sell it because it's money. You know, if you want to buy that house, buy that car, buy that whatever, retire yourself, retire your wife, like whatever you want to do,
Retire
do it. It's
your
money.
wife. That what you said?
Retire a wife, yeah.
What does that mean? Just like get rid of her?
No, I, maybe I should clarify. I'm usually using this like making like so she does not have to work anymore, and then
Okay.
so she can retire.
It sounded like a euphemism for like pushing a pillow over her face or something.
I have to sell. I have to sell Bitcoin. I have to buy some pillows.
Yeah, I gotta get those chairs back. Yeah, do you know anybody that's pivot out of Bitcoin to get back into chair? You know what? I'm getting back into chairs, guys.
Buying some chairs now.
Yeah, sold all my Bitcoin for the stack of chairs.
That's crazy. But yeah, like I think there are not a lot of people that actually do that. But really cool. Before we go to the end routine, I have one question to ask each and every one of my returning guests, and you have been returned on like 2 or 3 times or 4 times now. And the question is, what have you learned outside of Bitcoin since your last appearance? I think like half a year ago, something like that.
Well, this is unrelated to Bitcoin exactly. It's more to do with the story that I wrote. So this story is the first time that I've really paid attention to how I like the structure of a story, the way that I used to write. And I've written a lot of stuff. Not that it's ever been published. It's just all been kind of things that is whatever, just stuff that I've written, because none of it's ever really been good enough to publish. And the number one thing that I've learned is that there is a proper way to do things. You can go and write a song and write a book or do whatever you want, but if you want it to be monetarily successful, there's probably some ways that you can do stuff. And I imagine the version of me 5 years ago hearing myself say this would be like, screw that, you can carve your own path. And yeah, you might be able to. There's a chance that you can go set out and cut a new path and find some new way to make a movie or whatever it is. But if you're trying to tell a story, it really is helpful at the very least to know why certain movies are successful. Like there's a reason there's a 3-act structure. There's a reason why various things happen at different points in movies or in books. And if you ignore all of that because you just want to write a series of things that happened, you might nail it. You also might not. And I think this is true of Bitcoin as well. Like there's a lot of people that have messed up the process of acquiring Bitcoin or self-custody. There's a lot of failed lessons out there. And you don't have to repeat those people's mistakes. You can learn from them. You can go online and you can listen to BTC sessions and he can walk you through how to set up a cold storage. Like you can do whatever you want. There's no reason that you have to just sit there and be like, well, here I am alone in my house. I've got a notepad and my brain. How do I get Bitcoin? Like, well, you got a whole internet at your fingertips. Probably you can ask some questions. You've got AI now. There's a lot to be learned from any field. And I would say, yeah, I'm not suggesting that you should second guess yourself, but I think you should question the way that you do things, no matter what it is. And it seems like every, I don't know, week at least or month or so, I'm learning some new way to do something. Sometimes it works well, sometimes it doesn't, but at least it's a new way of doing something. And when it comes to like this book, I'm hoping you are able to listen to that first quarter of it that I sent you. It would be, yeah, maybe the difference between the two that I sent you is significant in my opinion, and that comes down to trying to do it my own way and then trying to do it a way that makes a little bit more sense. And like there's movies that you watch and maybe you don't understand story. Not I don't mean you, Robin, specifically, but you, the larger you. Yeah, I'm sure there's movies that people have watched out there and they go, "Wow, that was a great movie." They walk away from it. It just worked. And then other ones you walk away from and you're like, "That couldn't tell you why exactly, but that was not a great movie. It just did not work." And there are reasons for that. It's not just because this director was behind it. It could be that because he's a bad storyteller, I suppose, certainly. But there are successful movies, and there's a reason that they are successful, and there's a reason that movies that fail and aren't told very well, there's a reason for that. It's not just dumb luck in the way that the universe was configured at that time. There's reasons for these things, and it would behoove a person that's trying to get better in some field to do some research in that field, and not just be like, I'm going to figure it out on my own. You might, but probably not.
I have an interesting take on that, and I 100% agree with that. I see a lot of content creators, especially Bitcoin content creators, that put out a piece of content and then claim that they are shadow banned. And then I look at the title, the thumbnails, all of those things, and I'm like, you're not shadow banned. Your title and your thumbnail and the first 1 minute of your video just sucks.
You shadow ban yourself.
You shadow ban yourself. And I'm really like, search the mistake first in you, not in the audience. Most likely you did something wrong. And I'm like amazed by the amount of people in the content creation space. I mean, this might just extend also to book writing and all of that, but I see, especially with YouTubers, saying like, oh, like I all of a sudden got shadow banned. Like, no, like if most likely YouTube doesn't care about you. Like that's like very likely the case. Yeah, like there might be some figures that YouTube actually bans. Yes, this is actually happening. But most likely you're not one of them, and most likely you just suck at creating a title, a thumbnail, and a video. And I know that because there are videos that I put out there that got over 100,000 views, and then there are videos that I put out there that get 200. And the difference between them is not YouTube selecting a few videos of mine to selectively shadow ban those specific videos. It's that YouTube tests that piece of content with the audience, and the audience says, yeah, I don't click on that. I don't watch that. I don't like that. And so it's
there's also something to, like with you, the guest, and who, like if you go to Joe Rogan's, he'll have guests that don't even break the 100,000 number of views, or that's few, but there's probably some. And then he's got Elon or Zuckerberg or Donald Trump, and it's like tens of millions of views. And I mean, I don't think any amount of thumbnail or title for those other podcasts would have gotten tens of millions of views. Maybe slightly better, but there's going to be some people that are just like, I'm just not interested in this guest. I don't even know who this person is. And if I click on it, it's like, I'm going to be talking about the leg segments of centipedes today, Joe. And it's just like, okay, well, what do we, I'm going to talk about, I'm not doing this.
Yeah, I just look at Joe Rogan. His last podcast was 21 hours actually ago. He just released one, and it already got 600,000 views.
Yeah, that's crazy. Who's the guest?
Kurt Metzger. No clue who he is.
Oh, he's a comedian. Okay, yeah, that one will probably break 1 million. He's it depends on the guest, but you can go to his popular ones, and I think it's probably the Elon or Donald Trump, and it's whatever, like 40 million, 50 million, something.
The most popular one, the second most popular one was with Donald Trump, 61 million views. That's crazy.
Okay. Yeah.
The first one, I don't know, Pop Laser and Jeremy Corbell. Never heard of those guys.
Huh.
Then
that's the UFO guys. Yeah.
Third is Edward Snowden, then Elon Musk, then Alex Jones, Graham Hancock.
Yeah, and he's a monolithic ancient earth researcher, explorer guy, goes around looking at pyramids and old ruins and the like, and trying to figure out like, how did humanity get to where we're at? He's an interesting guy for sure.
JD Vance. Yeah, like some of them I actually don't know. Maybe it's because I'm European that I'm not American. I don't know. But yeah, like 100%, like there's like it's like you, the person, but like now we're getting like into the weeds of content creation and podcasting. But like if you put out a piece of content and nobody watches it, it's most likely that you suck at the content creation or you're not interesting enough, not that YouTube shadow pans you. And this just like reminds me of what you said of like, there's a right way to do things and there's a you just doing things. You just doing things would take a lot of volume and a lot of years for people to actually start to liking it, and maybe it never happens. While if you study like how you actually do things and how you actually like progress in whatever you want to do and get better and get more skilled. I mean, of course, you could go ahead and learn soccer and like you can just have a ball and just like kick the ball around, or you could go ahead and find someone that actually plays decent soccer, and maybe if you're then better at this guy, then find the next one that is even better than you and like work your way up, or like find someone on YouTube that plays really good soccer, and maybe I don't know, Cristiano Ronaldo has some courses, I don't know, probably not, but so like there's in every field someone that does something really good and you can learn from him or from AI or from whatever you want to, or books of whatever you choose to do. And that's probably a better way of just like, oh, I'm shadow banned.
Yeah. I think people are too quick to blame something aside from themselves. Like look in the mirror real quick. I mean, there's the passage in the Bible. It's like remove the splinter from your eye before, or remove the plank from your eye before removing the splinter from your brother's eye. I've plenty of people talk about that kind of thing of like what are you more likely to change, all of YouTube or yourself?
Yourself, I would guess.
Yeah,
I love that. I love that. We have an endotin in the podcast, as you know, where the previous guest asked me a question for the next guest without knowing who the next guest actually is. And the previous guest asked you the question, what is the most exciting Bitcoin project that you're looking forward to in 2026? Now we are in the second week, I guess, of 2026.
Most exciting Bitcoin project. Oof, boy. I guess it's not a project, but I don't know of any exciting projects that are really interesting to me right now. Maybe I'm just I don't know. There's all sorts of things, but um, I'm I wish I had a good answer for like some direct thing. I guess it's kind of a project. I like checking on Cash App because I have that set up. It's super easy to get direct deposit and it just buys it automatically when I get paid at my job, and with zero fees. It's just whatever the price is. That's I get that amount directly converted. But on Cash App, you can go and look at a map and see it. And I've been checking it every week or two. I check and you can see it populating more and more, which is really cool to see with more merchants that accept Bitcoin. So it's clear that people are having conversations out there, and it's just it's interesting to see that happen. And I think that 2025 was kind of a meh year for Bitcoin. I think it was down like 6% the year for the whole year or something. It was kind of not all that interesting. But I don't think that's going to be the case for 2026. And so I'm curious to see what drives that and all the various things that people talk about surrounding that.
100%.
It's a terrible answer. I guess it's not a project. Sorry, whoever asked that question. I don't have a good answer for you.
It's fun, I think. Yeah, but it seems to be. I mean, I'm cautious because like I also did all the interviews starting 2025, and everyone told me Bitcoin 2025 would be an amazing year.
Yeah.
And now also everyone tells me Bitcoin 2026 will be an amazing year. I strongly believe so, and I have my reasons why. And I like did a whole 1.5 hour live stream on like why I think also price wise Bitcoin will be amazing in 2026. But I'm already looking forward to like beginning of 2027 looking back. I think we're right. Let's see. Really cool. Thank you so much, Delio, for being on the show again. It was really cool. Maybe people watch this in like a few months time and maybe the book is already out. In case this is the case, where can people find you and the book that you're writing?
Chances are the book won't be out in maybe in the first half of this year, but I still am waiting on feedback on this first quarter of it to really get it honed in before I move on and polish up the rest of it, because there's no point in polishing up the back 3/4 of it and then coming back around like, well, the first half needs to be completely redone now. So I want to get the first part really honed in, because that'll kind of point the direction of the book. So where they can find me and where I'll absolutely talk about it is on Twitter at Delio Pera. It's just my name on Twitter. And no, just if you see my name, that's it. There's no space. It's just my whole name, real simple. And then you can find me weekly on the Mining Disrupt channel, where I do a weekly news, opinion, education, entertainment on the Mining Disrupt channel on YouTube.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Delio, for being on. And also thank you so much for everyone that is watching and listening, for joining us today. As always, I'll be back. This content is for educational and entertainment purposes only and does not constitute financial advice.